now my thoughts and Zycus's thoughts, correct, in terms of what do we see as the road ahead. Obviously, S2P has been around for almost a couple of decades, but it's just changing so rapidly now, and we're calling it intake to outcomes. This is the impact of AI, which is really changing how procurement people use software and automation and AI. Obviously, we are proud. Zycus as a team, we are proud to get recognition from different analysts, reputed analysts. But also, what we are as proud, if not more, is the innovation which we have been doing over the years. So when we started off in 2001, 2002, our first patent was on machine learning, correct? AI at that particular point of time. So I think a lot of innovation, we did Merlin AI in 2018, prior to the ChatGPT era, where we launched our Merlin AI products. So AI is something which is ingrained in our DNA, so we are very excited. So we don't just sell AI, correct? We are passionate about AI. We use AI internally. We are very creative in terms of how we can leverage AI for our customers, as we'll show today. It's always great, going and meeting customers across the globe. So we have Horizon, across different continents. The next one, which is coming up, is in Australia, and then we go to US from there. But it's a good opportunity for us to really also engage with our customers and understand what are the trends which are shaping the industry. Maybe what we heard over the 90% of processes would be done by AI kind of validates this. We looked at all the prospects, and we have hundreds of them which we talked to. What we have done is we have classified them into AI hungry, AI curious, and AI resistant. If you see AI resistant, it's almost single digits everywhere, correct? I think these are people who say, I can't trust AI, but they're mostly in regulated industries, healthcare, and so on. But otherwise, everybody's either curious or hungry about AI. But if you look at it, what's very surprising, and I was also surprised, like APAC is leading in terms of being AI hungry. So people are not just saying, okay, I would definitely want to use AI agents. It means there is almost a mandate from the board or a mandate from the CEO, correct? That AI is one of the top priorities of the organization. So it's good when we talk to customers over here. US is obviously the leader in terms of how, in foundational models and overall AI innovation. I think it's good to see, other geographies really doing very, forefront work over there in terms of adopting AI into their business processes. Now, what has changed over the last couple of years? I think what's really changed is the discussion on AI. I would call it from a copilot era, correct, as Patrick talked about, correct, to outcome-driven era. In fact, I think it was 1.5 years back when I presented about Agentic AI. People came and asked me, what is Agentic AI? Because you're writing a prompt, you have data, isn't that Agentic AI? It is not. To kind of just take an analogy, I want to go back more than a century back. The way the Industrial Revolution really transformed economies, industries, it shaped how we live. The similar change is happening now with AI. It is a transformational change. It's not even comparable to a .com era and so on. This is really going to transform economies and the way we really live. A lot of things will uncover over the next couple of decades. But what's important to learn is if you look at the Industrial Revolution. So first you had the raw power of the steam engine. But it was raw power, full of potential. It has to be harnessed and then converted into something useful, which is where the factories really came in, correct? So you take that power over there, organize it into a series of steps which coordinate with each other, and then you get a final product. So Agentic AI, you could think of it very similar over there. So you have what Industrial Revolution did over there for mechanical work, correct? This is AI is doing that for knowledge work. So you have knowledge work, but rather than just writing a prompt or doing a copilot over there, it stitches over there into a complete flow, and more importantly, it works autonomously, correct? So agents are intelligent because factories were not intelligent earlier over there, correct? It was like a assembly line, but agents are intelligent to really figure out which agent should I call next, what should be the sequence of agents to really deliver an end outcome. So that's a definition of agentic AI. And as Patrick also mentioned, correct, the word is also orchestration. So agents have to talk to each other. Just as humans, we also interact with different teams over there, correct, to achieve a business goal. Similarly, agents would also orchestrate autonomously, correct, almost self-discover in terms of which agent should I work with. And a lot of budget is going across the globe, correct, and definitely in APAC, of prioritizing investment from other areas into AI and specifically into agentic AI. So Zycus, 2 years back, we started off with what we are saying doesn't work right now, which is AI sprawl, correct? So we created 75 or 90 different agents all across the source-to-pay product, summarize this contract, create an RFP. That does not work because, one, it is not integrated into your business process. And second thing, you miss the intelligence of how agents communicate to each other, correct? So you could have an agent which identifies a category strategy, and based on that category, it automatically identifies what kind of consolidation you'll do, or what kind of RFP are you really going to do for that. So unless you have agentic flows which work backwards from the outcome, you cannot have it. It's almost like a small button which we have on each functionality saying, okay, let us summarize this contract. That gives some value, but it's very limited. I think the true value of AI would come once you harness it over there, working backwards from the goal. Ideally, many years from now, you'll have, okay, I want to get 8% savings and tactical spend and 5% in strategic spend, work backwards from that and create the entire strategy, and the agents would execute. But that's the vision. And if you see, and I'll come to that later in terms of some of the agentic flows which we have, which work with agents coordinating with each other towards a final outcome. So again, tomorrow's procurement chart, I think it's already started. You will have people would take the decisions, people would be creative. AI always looks backward, correct? AI cannot look forward. I think that's, as humans, we are given that ability, and now we'll use it more and more because AI will do a lot of, the backward processes. But a lot of, every team would have agentic flows, and you would almost call them as your team members, correct? And these team members will work 24/7, correct? Without complaining, they'll work intelligently, and they'll work towards business outcomes. Now, given that's a change which is happening in the market, I think agentic AI is now, it's a rage all across, correct? Across industries, it's happening. How is Zycus, executing on agentic AI? So the way we look at procurement is you have the incoming funnel, and then that goes through some process to deliver business outcome. And the incoming funnel are two. One is your intake, where you get requests from your business users, correct? So it could be for an NDA, it could be for a sourcing event, and or a tactical buy and so on. But the other thing which is very important is from you could call it the strategic sourcing control tower, or your category strategy. That would really determine what are the activities you should be doing in the year, and then AI can really help you in executing towards that for business outcomes. This is a bit technical, but I just want to highlight a couple of points, and I'll reiterate that because agentic AI cannot work in isolation. So first, at the left, you have your core source-to-pay product. And again, it's important because AI can do a lot of intelligent stuff, but it will not survive an audit. So you need to make sure that you have a system of record which is deterministic, where you have all the information really stored, which whatever was earlier in the industry being sold as source to pay products will become kind of the foundation, almost like the databases there for enterprise applications. And then I think a lot of you would have heard that, but MCP is a way of just talking to any system, correct? You could talk to different systems, ask a question, and AI will generate the answer. And then you have different agents. But what's important is agent collaboration. I think that's where a lot of research is really helping, correct? How do you assemble the right agents for a certain task? How can one agent transmit information to the next agent? But you combine many of these agents together, and then you have agentic flows which are really created. This is the same architecture, just showing the different layers. But at the top, and we believe AI is going to become the new UI. The way we were interacting earlier would change, and conversational UI, correct? And obviously in a hybrid form, not just chatting all the time, but would become the UI. Then you have the agent layer. Then you have the Zycus tool layer. And when I showed the agents will interact not just with Zycus systems, but because MCP makes it possible, it will interact with any other system which you might have. So for example, your intake might have to connect with your third-party risk management system, so that the agentic architecture allows for integrating not just with Zycus, but also call data sources or systems from outside. Now this is what we heard in one of our AI council. Rather than create point agents, can we have blockbuster agentic flows? What does blockbuster mean? It delivers a significant value, or it might be a certain role which you are targeting. So for example, you have accounts payable. Can you reduce the work of accounts payable by 60 to 70%? That makes it blockbuster. So one of the things I'd really like to thank is our customers, because we always believe in working with our customers to identify the next trend. So we have AI councils, we have leaders all across the globe who really contribute. So in these AI councils, we debate in terms of, we have ideas in terms of AI, but how do customers see? Where are the value? And we come up with what is practical, customers say what's the value, and which is why we have come up with these different blockbuster agentic flows, and I'll go through 4 of those agentic flows. So what we have done is we said, rather than create an agent sprawl all across, let's identify a few focus areas. So what's the business outcome? We create a lot of agents for that, and then you have agentic flow which will orchestrate that. The first, I think all of you will know, because intake is just becoming very common all across procurement. So intake is, we have multiple customers over there where we have intake live, and it's working very well in terms of adoption as well as compliance. And the second is autonomous negotiation, and this, we call it autonomous negotiation. Like I said, we want you to take AI which is practical. Don't try to do autonomous negotiation for your $10 million RFP, correct? That won't happen now, it will happen 5 years from now. But we took tactical spend, what is normally kind of money just left on the table, correct? Where you just give an order to a supplier, but how can you have AI really handle autonomously your tail spend and your tactical spend? What we are now working with our initial set of customers is Merlin Agentic Sourcing, MAS as we call it. So Merlin Agentic Sourcing would have both category strategy as well as in the execution piece for sourcing. The next one is, again, I appreciate the AI Council. This was not on our radar, correct? And people talked about, the 2 ways of getting savings, correct? As Kunta from IBM mentioned. One is you can have savings, gotten when you negotiate with suppliers. The other is to take savings which are, left on the table, correct? You negotiated very hard for a rebate and discount, correct? And at the end of the year, you figure out you missed that over there, correct? So AI will do very well on that, correct? It's always a pain, you have data everywhere. It is data which is, not complete. How do you analyze all of that So this would give hard savings, right? This is what our customer said, that's low-hanging fruit in terms of savings. So why don't we build agent for that? And obviously AI should be able to do well in terms of linking different entities, resolving them, connecting them, looking at the conditions and then identify where rebates are possible, and possibly even connecting with the supplier and trying to close that loop over there for claiming that particular savings. So these are the 4 blockbuster agentic flows. I'll first intake, but you'll hear later about these flows, so I'll just go through it quickly. But intake, everyone knows, it's procurement is a service organization, correct? We service the entire organization. So we always have to think of how to make life easy for the end user. They are not someone who knows procurement policies by heart, correct? They can't. So AI, which really helps in guiding end user, a business user, in terms of any request. Here I've just shown, purchase, correct? But it could be, I want to get a new contract or a new ND and so on. So intake becomes the front door to procurement, correct? And it guides the business user, and AI guides, correct? This is not kind of, again, a forms-based thing where you click through it. You just ask, like a chatbot, you just ask, and AI will just guide you through the entire process. So the advantages for the, you get 2 benefits. One is adoption and ease of use for your business user. But subtly, what you're doing also is enforcing your policies, correct? You want people to buy from a preferred supplier. All of us want that. How do you really guide a user to do that? You want users to think of different criteria on which they're going to evaluate the supplier. So this is what intake really helps over there in enforcing. I wouldn't call it enforcing as a hard word, but it'll guide a person through a process. You can also hard enforce some policy paths. And obviously AI can make a lot of recommendations, correct? You might have, you're looking at buying something which is already there in your catalogs, and AI will obviously just route you through your catalogs. And even getting the right supplier, correct? The supplier could be used by other divisions in your company. It could be a preferred supplier, correct? So based on all the data which you have, AI will intelligently suggest. So it just reduces that maverick spend significantly. But at the same time, for the end user, they feel that it's very easy working with procurement. And right now, orchestration is obviously a way where companies are stitching together multiple disparate systems, correct? If you have multiple different systems together, you would have orchestration engines which connect with all the different tools, correct? Whether it is S2P and so on. What we believe is, especially in the age of AI, built-in will always beat bolt-on. Because for AI to work, you need to get deep access to the data. So if you have orchestration, agents which are external over there, it will do a good job of connecting, 5 different vendors together. But they will never have access because none of these systems, whether it's a source-to-pay system, a CLM system, a risk systems, will give full access to all the data which is there within the system through those APIs which are outside. So you would not be able to then leverage that for AI decision making. So Merlin Autonomous Negotiation Agent, I talked about earlier, and it is mainly focused on tail spend. So you have different agents, depending on whether it's goods, services, or different categories. It'll automatically pick up which agents really have to be do it, and it can do both autonomously as well as with human in the loop. Correct? It can be set up for both of those. So initially we started off with goods. It's working well with multiple customers, and now for services also, because you have a lot of tail spend which is services. So how do you really do multi-parameter selection as well as negotiation of supply? Because services, that could be multiple different parameters on which you would decide, and not just the price as you would do with commodity goods. You'll see a demo of Anna later on. This is what I want to take a few minutes, because this is the next big thing which we are working on. We have our initial version of Merlin Agentic sourcing, And just the same way Anna works for tail spend, Merlin Agentic Sourcing would work for strategic spend. So once we started working with a few of our beta customers, we realized that we were focusing a lot on the execution side, where how can you have AI in helping you through the entire RFP process. I know a lot of people would be using Claude or ChatGPT for generate an RFP, analyze the bid, but the advantage is if you have a agentic flow, it has access to your entire data. It knows your supply performance, it knows which suppliers you've used in the past, what pricing is there, your category playbooks, and so on. One of the things we got from our customers is what is very important is what comes before that, as I talked about, that category strategy. So how can you have AI if you got dozens or maybe hundreds of categories? How can AI really make sense of a lot of data which is there, a lot of the intelligence which is in your organization, so that a new person coming in, correct, AI will become like a subject matter expert and really help the category manager through the entire strategic process also. So Merlin Agentic, like I said, initially we looked at the execution side where it will help you in the entire RFP creation, finding out the right supplier, benchmarking of prices. That's very important. AI can do a very good job of benchmarking prices based on your data as well as external data. And discovering from the market suppliers, correct? I think that's a very important thing because often organization would stick with certain suppliers. How can you identify new suppliers? AI can really do an intelligent recommendation of suppliers. And obviously other data sources, for example, credit risk and so on. So I'd like to thank customer partners because our product really becomes real when we partner with customers to build it. So a lot of challenging happens in terms of what we're thinking and what the customer really desires over there. So I think agentic sourcing is coming along really well as we're getting feedback from our customers. So let me take a few more minutes over there to kind of just wrap up. So one of the things on AI, obviously everybody's jumping on the AI bandwagon, but we started earlier. We had Merlin, Merlin launched in 2018. We launched our agentic flows a couple of years ago. So a lot of them are getting hardened now, as they get into production with multiple revisions. Now, as Mengtek also mentioned, the foundation matters, correct? So source to pay is important. So even though we talk about agentic AI, the core foundation where your business processes lie, which is source to pay, is really very, very important. So if you see the layers which are there, you have source to pay at the foundation over there, correct, on which everything else really rests, because all your data and your business processes and your guardrails are there in source to pay. So agentic AI would sit on top of your S2P suite. And again, what I mentioned, you get auditable data, correct? It's very important to have auditable data because procurement is like a finance function. And then, it also becomes your system of record. Obviously, Zycus, we have an organic suite. It's not built through acquisitions. And again, that helps us over there as you have the agentic AI layer sitting on top of the S2P foundation. Now, as I mentioned, we are passionate about AI. So internally also, we use AI across every department, correct? And customer success is very important. It's not just about creating innovative products. How can we deliver value for our customers? So internally, we have multiple different initiatives for customer success. We have Merlin Help. We have Smart Admin. We have shrunk by almost 50% the implementation timeline through agents. So agents can automatically configure workflows through natural language into our system. What this gives us is obviously faster time to value and higher success towards reaching customer values. So as I mentioned on implementation, correct, we have in the entire flow where it kind of listens to all the calls from the customer, the information from the RFP, and automatically kind of creates a design document. So that helps in getting much higher accuracy and quality as well as shrinking the time. Obviously, and this all of our customers have seen, pace of development has shot up significantly. We have gone almost 4x, 5x in terms of productivity when we measure the number of features which are delivered per release, to the extent now that engineers say that, okay, give me what product management becomes a bottleneck in terms of how fast can you really come up with all the requirements. Last, I'd like to kind of just close with, we have done AI internally across departments. We have got almost 40 to 50% productivity improvements across different teams. The first is, I would just say, experiment beyond limit over there, correct? AI is, I think the limit is our imagination. Like, for example, in fact, a marketing team just built an interview agent, correct? A live agent which actually does interviews, for junior positions we started off. It has done almost 10,000 plus interviews currently, and it does as good as your average recruiter can really do it. But the second is obviously a top level executive management. I think in many organizations, you have the CEO and board really reviewing. Like, we have a monthly review internally across products. Obviously, we do on a weekly basis, but we have a monthly review across departments, how they're really adopting AI. And most importantly, people can show cool agents. We said, how have you moved the needle, correct? How have you moved the needle, correct? Have you improved the NPS? Have you, reduced your team size, correct? So what are the KPIs in terms of outcomes, and then really measure that. I think that does well. Otherwise, you can create a lot of cool stuff around AI without it delivering real value for the organization. I'd love to also thank our partners. Although it's the age of AI, it's still very important, from consulting, from change management, from local nuances to really have, partners across the globe. So road ahead, I think you would have seen me talk about Agentic AI. We think the entire software thing is going to change from software to autonomous systems, obviously with human in the loop for creative items or decision-making items. But the second thing, as I said, AI will be the new UI. So what we are calling the current UI of Zycus, you have due drops. You have seen it changing with intake. It's a conversational chat. The same is happening with Merlin Agentic sourcing. It will happen for other products. So very soon, all the products would get replaced with a new agentic layer in terms of reasoning, as well as new UI layer in terms of talking to those agents. You can't talk to agents in the language of yesterday. With that, I'd like to close, but also our team has put together, we really are, as I said, passionate about AI. So whether it's educational courses which we sponsor, or it is white papers, so you'll hear more about this later and do it. But again, I want to emphasize, if you kind of look at AI and look at what is practical now with high impact, do it and do it fast. So I'll just close with that. Thank you, everyone.